recently, you're not alone here. Texas Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher nominated you both for the Nobel Peace Prize. I want to read a part of her statement because I think it's important. Dr. Hotez and Dr. Bottazzi's effort to develop the Corbevax vaccine is truly one of the international cooperation and partnership to bring health, security, and peace around the world by creating a COVID-19 vaccine and making it available and accessible to all. It is a contribution that is one of the greatest benefit to humankind. Two parts to that question. Do you wish it was like a Nobel Prize for like in science? Does that even matter to y'all? And two, what are the reasons Corbevax is going to make the difference combating globally? I know y'all mentioned some of the other ones, but what are some of the main reasons that rise to the top, just in layman terms for a lot of our listeners?
Well, maybe
Bottazzi, sorry, I apologize. Oh my gosh,
okay.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Yes. Usually I look at Peter, see if he's going for it or not. But okay, so first of all, I have to say for me personally, and vice versa, right? But for me personally, I mean, I've been working alongside Peter for 20 years. And, besides the fact that we are, again, dynamic duos, but Peter has been, one of my biggest mentors and champions, and to share this nomination with him is probably, the dream that probably I never really had dreamed or dreamt. Sorry, my English sometimes, goes astray. But it's just, unbelievable because from the moment I met him, we've seen this vision that diplomacy, it really would make a difference in everything that we did. So it's not only, again, advancing science and sometimes, honestly, transversing or jumping through scientific hurdles. It's easy for us because we're scientists, right? We know how to, jump over science issues, but we know the hardships when you have to really jump some of the policy or some of the social interactions or even the cultural, differences and how do you really shape that conversation to make things in a way that then they can really reach the people who need them is probably the hardest things that we have to do daily, right? And so knowing that this nomination was indeed for that, for the years that we've been trying to learn how to do this vaccine diplomacy, I think it's just something that, it's been just amazing for us. And for me personally, it's great. Just with the nomination, I think we have won a lot of respect, and we are so grateful to Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, I'll say the science is interesting, and there are interesting scientific problems that we solve. But equally important, or more important, we're trying to do this in a way that builds capacity across the world. Because making vaccines is not the same as small molecule drugs or diagnostics. With small molecule drugs, if you have the patent, the recipe, then that opens the door, right? And you can usually hire chemists to make it. With vaccines, it's quite different. And that's where a lot of people don't quite understand. It's not just the recipe, it's building the human capital and the training to know how to make vaccines under a quality umbrella and at scale under quality control, quality assurance. And this is what we provide. And this is, especially the brilliance of Mary Elena, knowing how to do this with rigor and with the right kind of documentation, and the batch production documentation and the quality control, quality assurance, and the oversight and working with national regulators. That's the hard part of making vaccines. And that's why you have so few countries that make vaccines right now. It's because of that challenge, and people often don't understand this. So we're very much committed to that capacity building. What I like to say is, if you're a Nigerian scientist or a Bangladeshi scientist, you can't walk into GlaxoSmithKline or Merck or Pfizer or Moderna and say, show me how to make a vaccine, but you can with us, and we do that, and that's really, because we recognize that the vaccines that we make, for some of them, maybe they'll be refined or improved, but this is a gift to the world by teaching people how to make vaccines and build that capacity. And that's why the vaccine ecosystem needs to change, because it's still too focused on the multinational companies. There's still this thing out there that basically said, people don't explicitly say it like this, but that's what they mean. They say only the multinational companies can pull this off. We're going to incentivize them financially to do that, and maybe in time vaccines will filter down. And we're saying no. We think, there's this group of organizations that actually bands together in a network. They call themselves the Developing Country Vaccine Manufacturers Network, dcvmn.org. And we work with them to build that capacity and that partnership. So it's very special. And I think, we've been doing this for our parasitic disease vaccines, which sort of flew below the radar screen because people don't care as much about schistosomiasis and Chagas disease because they're diseases of the poor. But doing it for COVID, that's been the game changer in terms of, grabbing people's attention.
Yeah. And I want to highlight another huge point, which also I think people don't realize, is the amazing role that academic and certainly in health systems, like hospital systems have, right? Because as you see in the Texas Medical Center, which is this marriage between, of course, the universities, right, or Baylor College of Medicine and many others, with their affiliated hospitals, which of course then translate, the discoveries from the research, into clinical care, right, and take care of our communities, is very important. And how now we do play this role where all the curiosity really comes from our research endeavors. And there's always this notion that things that come out of academia is not ready enough to translate into real interventions or solutions, and that the big multinationals come and scoop away your intellectual property, but then they take it into a big black hole, they redo it, and eventually they have a drug or they have a diagnostic. Now more and more they actually call upon us to do the hard work and de-risk a lot of the risk, right, that entertains this development. And now more and more our institutions really know how to do this. Like, we are a small mini biotech, company, nonprofit, embedded within the, university system with Texas Children's and Baylor. Peter calls us the money-losing guaranteed, biotechnology company, but that's okay, right? But again, because when we then give these starter kits, they are regulatory enabling starter kits. They're not starter kits that then they say, oh my God, what are all these things? We have to restart all over. And that's, I think, something that, we are trying to also change the paradigm, that, universities and academia has a very important role now into advancing these types of solutions. And that has to occur not only in the US and high-income countries, it has also to occur in, all the countries, especially the global South.